Welcome to the Corporate Autopsy, where we open up the biggest brands in the world and show you exactly how the money died. In 1975, an engineer at this company built the world's first digital camera. His bosses saw it, and they told him to keep it quiet. 37 years later, in 2012, that same company filed for bankruptcy. This is the story of Kodak and how it invented the exact machine that would destroy it. The story starts in Rochester, New York, with a high school dropout named George Eastman who worked as a bank clerk. In 1880, Eastman began making dry photographic plates in a rented loft, and in 1888 he founded the company that became Eastman Kodak. He invented the word Kodak himself. It meant nothing. He just wanted a short, strong name that sounded the same in every language. His idea was radical for the time. Photography would no longer belong only to professionals with heavy glass plates in darkrooms. In 1888, Kodak sold its first camera as a simple wooden box, already loaded with a roll of film for 100 pictures. When you finished the roll, you mailed the whole camera back to Rochester. Kodak developed the photos and reloaded it for you. The slogan said it all. You press the button, we do the rest. It was the first time ordinary people could take a photo without knowing anything about chemistry. That single sentence turned a niche hobby into a mass product, and it made George Eastman one of the richest men in America. Then in 1900, Kodak released the Brownie, a cardboard box camera that cost just $1. For $1, almost any family in America could suddenly afford to take pictures of their own lives. The Brownie sold by the millions and created a whole new habit. The snapshot, the birthday, the vacation, the everyday moment worth saving. Kodak did not just sell cameras. It taught the entire world that memories were something you were supposed to photograph. But here is the part that made Kodak a giant, and the part that would eventually trap it. Kodak did not really get rich selling cameras. It got rich selling what went inside them. Kodak ran what people call the razor and blades model. Sell the camera cheap, then sell the film forever. Every photo anyone took meant more film, more chemicals, and more Kodak paper to print it on. That was the real money machine. By the 1970s, Kodak controlled around 90% of the film sold in the United States and about 85% of the cameras. At its peak in the 1980s, the company employed roughly 145,000 people, and Rochester was effectively a Kodak town. Its yellow film boxes were on every drugstore shelf on Earth, and the phrase "a Kodak moment" entered the language as another way of saying something worth remembering. So, Kodak was one of the most dominant companies in the world, sitting on a river of cash from film. And then, in a lab inside its own headquarters, one of its own engineers built the future. In December of 1975, his name was Stephen Sasson, a young electrical engineer at Kodak, and he was given a vague assignment to see if an image could be captured without film. What he built looked like a blue toaster. It weighed about 8 pounds and it stored pictures on a cassette tape. The image was black and white and painfully rough, just 10,000 pixels, which is 1/100th of a single megapixel. It took 23 seconds to record one photograph onto the tape and another long moment to display it on a television screen. It was slow, it was clumsy, and it was the first digital camera ever made. Sasson had just invented the technology that would eventually erase film. Sasson showed the prototype to Kodak's management. According to his own account, the reaction was polite and deeply skeptical. They looked at a camera with no film, and they saw a threat to the one thing that made them all their money. So they told him it was cute, but not to tell anyone about it. This is the classic trap that business schools now call the innovator's dilemma. Kodak did not miss the future because its engineers were blind. It saw the future clearly and chose to slow it down. A film-free camera meant no film sales, no chemical sales, and no photo paper. It threatened to poison the exact river of cash the company drank from. So Kodak filed patents on digital imaging and then largely sat on the idea, protecting the profitable present instead of building the risky future. For a while, the strategy even looked smart. Through the 1980s and 1990s, film kept selling and the profits kept flowing. But other companies had no film business to protect. Japanese electronics makers like Sony and Canon poured everything into digital. Through the late 1990s and early 2000s, digital cameras got cheaper, faster, and sharper at a stunning pace. Kodak did eventually build digital cameras, and for a moment it was even a top seller in the United States, but it was fighting its own core business. Every digital camera Kodak sold quietly killed the film sales that were still paying its bills. The company was competing against its own past and losing. Film sales for the whole industry peaked around the year 2000, and then they fell off a cliff. Within a decade, the market that had made Kodak a fortune for 100 years had almost completely evaporated. As film collapsed, so did Kodak. The company that once employed nearly 150,000 people began cutting jobs by the tens of thousands. Rochester, the city Kodak had built, watched its biggest employer shrink year after year, closing plants and tearing down buildings. Then came the final blow that no camera maker had planned for: the smartphone. By the late 2000s, the best camera most people owned was the one already inside their phone, and it needed no film and no separate camera at all. Kodak stock, once a proud member of the Dow Jones, slid toward pennies as investors realized the film era was truly over. The symbols of Kodak's past began to disappear one by one. In 2009, the company retired Kodachrome, its legendary color film that had captured decades of American life and even inspired a hit song. The very last rolls of Kodachrome on Earth were sent to a single lab in Parsons, Kansas, which processed the final roll at the end of 2010. A 100-year-old way of seeing the world was quietly being switched off, one discontinued product at a time. And then, on January the 19th, 2012, it finally happened. Eastman Kodak, the company that had defined photography for over a century, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The bankruptcy forced Kodak to sell off the crown jewels it had spent decades building. It auctioned off a huge portfolio of digital imaging patents, the very ideas born from that 1975 prototype, for around $525 million. It sold or shut down businesses, cut what remained of its workforce, and handed its pension obligations to a separate plan across the ocean. In 2013, a much smaller Kodak emerged from bankruptcy, no longer a consumer giant but a modest commercial printing and imaging company. The cruelest part of the story is the comparison right next door in the industry. Kodak's great rival, the Japanese company Fujifilm, faced the exact same collapse of film, and it survived. Fujifilm took the cash from its dying film business and aggressively reinvented itself into new fields, including chemicals, materials, and even cosmetics and healthcare. Kodak had the same warning, the same decade, and even a head start on the core invention, yet it clung to the past while its rival let go of it. That is the whole lesson in one sentence. Kodak did not lose because it failed to see the future. It lost because it could not bear to let go of its own glorious past. Kodak invented the digital camera in 1975, patented it, and then buried it to protect the film empire it thought would last forever. The empire is gone, but every photo on your phone is proof that Kodak was right about the future. It just could not stand to build it. Which dead giant should we autopsy next? Tell me in the comments, and subscribe, because there are a lot more empires that never saw coming. And that is how the money died. If you want more corporate autopsies, subscribe, and I will see you at the next postmortem.